Our work at Notre Dame is really almost second to none. We have almost 90% of our undergraduates going abroad at some point. Here in London, 1 in 4 undergraduates will study here at some point in their time.
From the campus of Our Lady's University, this is For Good, Stories from Notre Dame, a behind-the-scenes glimpse into life under the Golden Dome and the powerful stories that drive Notre Dame to become a force for good in the world. Hello and welcome to For Good, Stories from Notre Dame. For the very first time, we're taking our For Good series on the road and overseas, coming to you from the Marion Kennedy Fisher Hall in the heart of London, home to Notre Dame's largest study abroad program. Each year, hundreds of Notre Dame students study and live in one of the world's most historic and dynamic cities, enriching their Notre Dame experience and deepening their personal formation in the process. Today, we are joined by Josh Copeland, the Executive Director of the Notre Dame London program. Josh, thanks so much for being with us. Let's start out in this beautiful city with this amazing program here. Begin and just tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be the leader at Notre Dame London.
Thanks, Lou, and it's a pleasure to have you here. Yeah, I'd love to share a bit about that. My background, I'm not an alum of Notre Dame. My memories go a long way back. I grew up in East Tennessee. My first memories are, of course, football, hosting the Fighting Irish in my hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. I can remember it, November 1990. Still got the ticket stub, and I remember that day, and I thought, there's something quite different about this place, and finally getting to experience that for the first time.
Did we win or did...
Well, it depends on perspective. The Irish won.
The Irish won. Okay,
the Irish took it to my volunteers that day, but
Okay.
that was a cold, misty day. I can still see it. And it was a remarkable day, the heyday of the Irish, just like now. And it was a wonderful...
But people do still talk about how incredibly warm and receptive the Tennessee fans were.
We're very hospitable,
Yeah.
and we're glad to be part of that.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. So I didn't come to that, but I've become part of the family at Notre Dame, and I've been welcomed with open arms over the years. I trained as a musician, actually. My background's in classical music, opera. I was an opera singer, and I trained to do that, which has given me the chance to travel around the world to see lots of different things. I met my now wife, who was in Oxford, and that's where I found her through my work over here in the UK. And it was through people having the opportunity to go abroad and me joining them sometimes and to share those experiences in my life as a musician. I moved over here to join her in 2011. The first place we actually ever lived in London was Conway Hall. She had just finished her doctorate and had a short amount of time, and she was working with Notre Dame at Conway Hall here in London. Shared that experience there in the very early days of us having our first global residence hall. And a few years later, as I was moving away from full-time musician performing and teaching, and came in to work for the university, I had the great opportunity to join the team at Notre Dame as the rector of Conway Hall. Was my
So that was amazing. You were rector, and you had your wife had given birth just then to...
Just in those early days.
To twins,
We had
correct?
twin boys in the residence hall. It was a pretty new thing to have in the Notre Dame residence hall, but it was what an experience.
You had to be a
share
big
in London.
hit as rector. Kids coming by to see the twins.
It was always buzzing with our kids and everyone else around, and it was a really exciting environment.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And so from there, you became the director of the whole program.
Had a stint at that time, a little bit of time back in Oxford. I had a little gap there and came back to Notre Dame after a short time away in 2018 and joined the team as Director of Student Affairs. And I became the Executive Director in the summer of 2020, and a great time to take on that leadership. But
give everybody a little bit of a sense of the largesse and the scope of this program. I mean, there's so much going on here at Notre Dame London. And we said before, the largest of the programs, but it's diversified in many ways.
It is. We are the largest of all the global sites for the university. We do lots of things. We have up to 200 undergraduates here with us each semester, and then that amount again in the summer, studying in every single discipline across the university here. The law program has been present here for almost 55, 56 years they've been running here as well. And you have about 75 or 80 law students, some full year and some part year, who spend their time with us here in London as well. We support a lot of faculty research, conferences, symposia, workshops that we're doing. And there's a lot that we're doing here as well to aid the university's connections in the cultural and the financial and the ecclesial. There's so much connection with the Catholic Church in the UK that we spend our time on here, across other ecumenical relationships. So we're focused on a lot of different things and supporting both an excellent undergraduate program, an excellent law program, supporting graduate students and faculty in their research, and setting up the relationships for the university, being the home to that. Fisher Hall here is a large building just off of Trafalgar Square, right next to the National Gallery. Couldn't have a better place to be.
Right.
20-minute walk away is Conway Hall, our residence hall, just across on the south bank of the Thames River, right in the middle of the cultural center on that side of the river as well, with the Shakespeare's Globe and the Tate Modern Art Gallery, lots of things that we're right in the middle of everything. We couldn't have a better location. We share across these two buildings here in London.
We often say that at Notre Dame, our campus is located in South Bend, Indiana, but really Notre Dame is global. And our campus, I should say, is the world. So why is the study abroad experience such a cornerstone to the Notre Dame experience? And maybe you could say a little bit about how Notre Dame was just recognized recently with a prestigious award.
Yes, we were. The Senator Paul Simon Award for, I believe it was for international excellence. Very few universities received this award, but our work at Notre Dame is really almost second to none. We have almost 90% of our undergraduates going abroad at some point in their time, having that study abroad experience. Here in London, 1 in 4 undergraduates will study here at some point in their time. And that's a remarkable statistic that we get to engage on that level. And it's down to us and the way that we work here, working with our partners in South Bend in academic departments and across the university to enable those experiences so that it's a transformational experience for every one of those students when they're here.
So I think we have over 40 programs in multiple countries around the world. What would you say are some of the distinguishing or unique characteristics about the Notre Dame London experience?
Well, it's the largest, of course. We have mentioned that. We say there's not a language barrier, but as we often say, the United States and the United Kingdom are separated by a common language in some ways. So the students have to learn those differences. Right. The traffic comes the other way. So that's some of the things that we have to factor in. Those basics there. One thing that is really different about our programs is that we teach most of our courses in-house. We have visiting faculty from South Bend who come here each semester and in the summers to teach Notre Dame courses for Notre Dame students here in our classrooms across this building. We also have a cohort of local adjunct faculty in every discipline who are teaching here as well. They get working closely with college departments and directors of undergraduate studies and the law schools doing the same as well to develop that experience so that we're able to support students. Maybe because of the scale of what we do, we have engineers who can come abroad in the spring in a couple of different disciplines and in the summers as well, where it's really hard to do that at a small immersive program. Pre-medical students who can come abroad in the fall semester, that we can give them those courses that they need. And then we also look at all the rest of the courses that we offer and the extracurricular experiences to really engage them in this wonderful global capital where you can find just about everything you could ever want.
Right.
Here in the middle of London.
You could make the argument, right, that London is the most cosmopolitan city in the world. I mean, so you can come here and experience every ethnicity and the vast experience. And what a beautiful city this is.
It is.
I mean, it really is spectacular.
And to be right here in the heart of it, right in the center of arts and culture, here in the middle we have Soho Square just up the road and the theater district, Leicester Square in the West End, right behind us here in our building, the National Gallery next door. Parks and centers for politics. We're just down the road from Downing Street and the Houses of Parliament in Westminster. 10, 15-minute walk. Buckingham Palace is 10 minutes behind us here. We're right in the center of this. And that makes this a global classroom of a particular London flavor when students are here and they're spending a lot of time learning beyond the classroom as well.
And you have some unique classroom experiences, which really are experiential.
We do.
I hear about it from the students, the Shakespeare class, the theater class. Can you say a little bit about some of the unique courses you have here?
Absolutely. Shakespeare is one of our cornerstones. It's an area where we've had such a strength of study for so many years, as we obviously would here in London. Some of our students come here and they can actually practice their performing art on the stage of Shakespeare's Globe as part of one of their courses, playing Shakespeare. Others are going to Shakespeare in all sorts of different venues, small theaters, the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon, or at at the Globe or the National Theater. Our students are immersed in those types of experiences. We have courses in contemporary theater as well. We have music courses where students are going out and experiencing music in London, everything from the medieval music you might find in the cathedrals all the way up till jazz and blues and pop and every sort of modern music you hear all over London. And students are immersed in that. Yeah. We have courses where you study the history of sport, soccer, football. You have those types of things where students can immerse in that, or literature. Someone who can study. Another great item we have here is the G.K. Chesterton collection. Right. We have courses that immerse themselves in studying Chesterton and understanding literature, fantastic literature that broadens the imagination. And you can go out and you can see Chesterton's London, or you can see the London of other authors like T.S. Eliot or other authors, and immerse yourself in those types of things. You can go from here, walk next door, and see one of the greatest art collections of all in the National Gallery. And not just see those things and tick that box, but immerse with experts, subject-specific experts, and people who can walk through that experience and help students to realize what an opportunity this is and what they can see across every discipline.
And you guys do such a terrific job with the programming here. It is so dynamic. You've brought in some of the luminaries of London culture to come and speak here at the center here at Fisher Hall. Can you maybe highlight a few people who have been here recently?
Certainly. We had, just before we closed our doors for a little while in 2020, one of our great catches, we have an annual Shakespeare lecture, and we always have an excellent guest. Sometimes they're academics, sometimes they're great stage artists. And probably the greatest we have is Dame Judi Dench in February of 2020. We got that one in just before we had to take a brief pause. Yeah. But we continue to have these great speakers. Having Dame Judi here was an absolute thrill. We've had leaders connected from around the world. We've had the former leaders from Taiwan. We've had speakers that have come in from both the U.S. and around the world. The law school brings legal scholars here and great leaders. We have had political leaders. We've had Lord Chris Patten here recently, a great friend of Notre Dame and a great friend of higher education and Catholic education, has come in to speak a bit about global conflict and his understanding from his time working as a diplomat and leader around the world.
How does the faculty work here? Both Notre Dame faculty and then partners with other universities in the area?
So we work very closely with all the colleges and schools to identify faculty who can come here and teach for a semester in various disciplines. We work with College of Arts and Letters and Science and Engineering. Work closely with the law school as well. Rotating faculty here to have those experiences to teach here. Some to deliver one or two courses, and some to spend time as well working on their own research and furthering their research on behalf of the university. And that's one of our greatest strengths, is to give opportunity for our faculty to come here and develop those partnerships as well, working closely with institutional partners, both academic and cultural here, furthering their projects. And then we have a cohort of faculty who are working with us on more of an adjunct basis, delivering courses, particularly in their discipline. A stellar group of people who many have been here for a long time. We're always looking for new people in lots of different disciplines. And so we're always seeking to find those partners where people might be able to come in and deliver that kind of course that we need, that's focused on London and it's based on this place. So our students can come and get that Notre Dame course working closely with a department to make sure it aligns well with their experience at Notre Dame, but that it has something to offer that's London or European or global. And that's the beauty of what we're able to do here in London. And another piece of that I would be remiss to not highlight is the experiential learning things that we have as well. We have opportunities for our students to take one of their 3-credit courses as a placement, an internship, if you will, out in London. It can be in business, it can be in politics or diplomatic, it can be cultural, it can be in the school.
And you helped align these internships?
We have a portfolio of about 75 placements across lots of disciplines. And again, we're always looking for more of those. So we lean on our alumni network, which is really strong and robust. And we're always looking to get to know new alumni who find their way here, or people who have a network to share. So we can find more of those placements. Some of those come with a companion course. So the students can meet together in a particular discipline. For example, I work with a course where, along with our academic director, who we work with our students who are in placements in charitable endeavors. And we have a course in Catholic social teaching. What does that mean for their time here in London? What's that experience like to understand the needs of the other, the option for the poor, human dignity, and understanding that in the context of the modern world, and of an experiential learning like that. Right. Yes, it is professional development, but that's their immersive experience. It's the friends that they make, the people they get to spend their time with outside of the classroom, maybe go to the pub with after 5 on a weekday, and get to know these people. And it's such a cultural immersive experience. I'd love to have all of our students in those types of experiences. And we want to enable that as much as possible. And so that's another huge component of what we're able to do. And some of the people are also, students are in placements in research as well. And that's another area where they can go and actually do research for credit, working in a lab or something like that.
I love the fact that you have a chapel here in Fisher Hall. You also have one back in the Conway Hall. And it's keeping the kind of faith life alive is really important. What would you say for our students when you look at the geopolitical forces globally, issues like Brexit or some of the dynamics we're facing today, how does that affect the student experience, and how do you adapt to those?
We do have to take that into account. They're coming for a global experience, and this place is not like their experience they might have in Indiana or home, wherever that might be. And so there can be a period of adjustment. We have an excellent group of staff who support them. We have rector and assistant rectors and the residence life team that are there to support them in the way that Notre Dame can in such a wonderful way. We have a wonderful staff of people here as well. And our faculty members do a wonderful job of supporting them as well. It's also institutionally what we can put in place. How can we have those moments of encounter, of conversation? As Father Bob always reminds us of thinking about the bridges that we can build. We're somewhere else, and maybe we are that bridge in some way. Maybe we are the thing that connects us to some other institution or some other area. We're right in the middle of a diplomatic row. We're right in the middle of embassies all around here. So we can play that voice. We can be the convening voice to bring people here and have the conversations we need to weather the storms that we sometimes face in these geopolitical moments of unrest. And Notre Dame can play that role. We play that role around the world. We play it in Ireland and Latin America and in the Middle East as well. And there's certain things, that's the beauty of having these around here. We're so well positioned to do that. And our students can be a part of that. They're not just observers as they come. We always tell them, you're not tourists while you're here. Right. You're not visitors. You become residents. You get your mail here. This is home. You have to deal with the vagaries of public transportation. You live like the rest of us. So embrace that and be part of this place. Understand what's going on. Soak up that experience, and then figure out how you want to process it and share it with your friends, with people that you meet here, with your faculty, whatever those types of things are, to have them to give that kind of experience for them.
Well, you've done such an incredible job here. This is such a vibrant center for Notre Dame in such an incredible city with arguably as good a location as you could hope. I hope if they push me out of my role to come over and be like a receptionist or
You're always welcome.
Some role
we'll
or something over here. Okay, good. That's great. I got a good landing spot.
Yes.
But what are one final question. What is your vision for the center going forward? What are ways that folks that are really believe in the Notre Dame global experience, in particular the London program here, what can we do to help animate the vision that you have for London going forward?
That's a great question. Thank you. For the first time ever, as we're right in this moment of the university laying out its strategy over the next decade, there's a great opportunity for us in a new way to figure out what that means for London. We don't have to be downstream of everything. There's certain things that what's a priority for the university? How can we be part of that? And we've been working very closely together as a team on how we set that strategy for ourselves, the desire for us to become an even greater global Catholic research university. What role can we play here in one of the great higher education capitals of the world in the UK? Right. I think we have a great role to play. We are so well situated culturally with the culture of religious life and the things that we intersect with right here in London politically, economically. We're right in the global financial capital as well, which is another interest. What does that mean for us? And when we talk about furthering our work as a Catholic research university, yes, supporting faculty in new ways to develop the kind of research that's transformational for us as a university. Supporting graduate students in a new way that we've not always been able to do, or that we can develop from things that we've already tried in the past, and to continue to develop that, because that will only enrich the experience of our undergraduate cohort. I think about the types of thing we have with our undergraduates in something like our Kennedy Scholars undergraduate research program, and letting that build into part of what we can do with graduate students, seeing what those opportunities are ahead. also thinking about what are those immersive experiences? What are the experiential learning opportunities for all of our students? How they get out into this place? What are the relationships and partnerships that we develop, be it with St. Edmunds College, Cambridge, or Durham University, some of these places where we have existing large partnerships, or engineering programs through Imperial College, some of these things where we already have the start of those. How can we build on those? Also, our network of cultural relationships that we have, living on that, making sure that our support for those students is robust, that we have the right supports for spiritual and pastoral life for them, for faith life, that we're following our charism of the Congregation of Holy Cross and supporting that here, also supporting all of our students who might come from a different tradition, and how can we enable them and support them as well? And what about students that need a little bit more support? How are we able to support those students in those times of need? Make sure that we have the right provision to support students in those types, be it financial need or a bit of pastoral care or support, counseling, those types of things, to make sure that we've got the infrastructure to allow them, that no one's held back by financial opportunity or by the resource that we can provide for them. And they have the richest experience.
And that's an excellent point. My guess is over the trajectory of your 13 years here, you've seen more and more first-generation students with kind of lower socioeconomic backgrounds coming here and needing basic financial support to get the plane ticket to get over here, to have some expenses for the weekend for travel.
Absolutely.
So that's an emerging need, correct?
That is an emerging need. Coming out of the pandemic, we're about 40-50% larger than we were before, which is a great story to tell. We have all of these students here that weren't able to come before. But sometimes that comes with higher need of opportunity to support students. What can we do to raise that experience so that everyone has that opportunity to have a rich and dynamic and life-changing, transformative experience? If it's the funding to make sure that they can get a visa for their internship, or they can have the resources to travel and to have that life-changing experience, to see that play, see that performance, or go somewhere that they need to give them that kind of research ballast that they require. And that's something that we would love to be able to offer every student, and we work very hard to do.
I'm very grateful to add that our son Gabriel, who's a sophomore mechanical engineer, has been accepted to the London program for spring of 2026. And I hope to use this public opportunity to try to lever things for him to maybe get a special internship in cleaning the bathrooms.
Well, it's on record.
Yeah, it's on record, okay? Because we could call that an engineering type experience. And
absolutely. It's part of engineering. Gabriel will go easy on you. Don't worry.
But my big concern is your bathrooms will be very dirty. So it could be problematic.
Quality control. We'll watch out for it.
Okay, watch out for them. Check in on that.
Will do.
Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for what you're doing for our students. The transformational experience, I know, changes their perspective on the globe, and it has a huge impact on who they are going forward. We're grateful for that. I think we have one of the best programs among multiple universities here in London from abroad, and a lot of that is due to your leadership and the great work of your team. So thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Lou, and thank you for being here.
One of the best ways to understand the Notre Dame London experience is to hear the impact it has on our students. I'm grateful and pleased to be joined now by Connor Casey, a Notre Dame junior currently studying abroad in London this semester. Welcome, Connor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're thrilled, and it's great to be here with a student. Yeah. Tell us a little bit, even before we get to London, tell us a little bit about your Notre Dame story.
Sure. So I'm originally from San Francisco, the East Bay area. And I think unlike many, my whole life, I didn't really know about Notre Dame. So I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm from a devout Catholic family with some Midwest ties on my dad's side. And not being like big football fans, I was a soccer fan. I didn't really know about Notre Dame in general. And nobody in my family went there. And so I think I was about to go into sophomore year, so right before COVID. And my older sister went on a leadership seminar there, comes back, just loved it. And like many things, I copied her, and next thing you know, I was looking into Notre Dame. I applied for restrictive early action and got accepted on December 16th, 2021. And from there, just fell in love with the university. We toured, but at the time, my whole life being in California, there was 2 schools in California that I was really looking at, especially
Don't mention those schools.
Yeah, I won't.
No, I'm teasing.
And I was looking to play college soccer. Long story short, that didn't work out. But in the end, it was Notre Dame and another school I was deciding between. And during that experience, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just each side I did the pros and cons sort of thing. And I remember I visited Notre Dame early April during my spring break. 2 weeks later, I visited the other school, and there was 2 weeks before I had to decide. So I got accepted in December. I wait till the last minute. And one day I was pretty much just at my normal mass Sunday morning with my mom and had communion, sat back down at her seats, and like normal, I was just praying. And the whole time, all I could think about was the Keenan Hall Chapel at Notre Dame. And something so special for me was my older sister, one of her friends, was pretty much the first one from my high school to go to Notre Dame, because I went to a public school, not a Catholic school. And he gave me a tour of Keenan Hall. Little did I know that I would live in Keenan and really have the role of liturgical commissioner. But it was that idea of just the vision in my head of hundreds of people gathered, just worshiping and forming that community. And after that, I left Mass. It was a no-brainer. And I think the special thing, especially for that, was that my mom had a really similar experience at the same time as me. So I left Mass that day, 2 weeks to decide. It was crystal clear I was going to Notre Dame.
Fantastic. So, now you're killing me. What was the other school it came down to?
It was UCLA.
UCLA.
Just the weather, being there my whole life and living near the beach. So.
Fantastic. Well, great school, UCLA, but you chose well.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you at Notre Dame. So what did you study? Or what are you studying, I should say? What's your major? And what are some of the extracurricular engagements that are helping to shape your experience at Notre Dame prior to London?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm studying business analytics. I have a minor in finance. Like many, I decided to pick one up. But it's just been incredible. So going into high school, I was interested in coding a little bit, didn't picture myself doing computer science. So that blend of coding and then the business application and the data analytics that comes into it, it was kind of the best of every world for me. And our faculty on campus is incredible. Just the major in general and the applications, being able to apply it here while I'm in London has been awesome. And in terms of my commitments here, I think, or in general back on campus, one of the things that keeps me up at night is just thinking, am I making the most of my Notre Dame experience? Because I'm the first one in my family to come here, and you think about that 4 for 40 idea every day. And I wouldn't say maximizing, because it's not really a resume building thing. It's just the relationships that I'm making while I'm here. And so I think my 3 big ones would be, I mentioned being the liturgical commissioner for Keenan Hall and really missing out on that experience in high school a bit, going to public school and being able to lead 250 plus guys in my residence hall and working with our incredible team, our incredible rector, Corey Hodson. And I've just been so inspired by really 2 role models, Andrew Peters as well as Matt Hansen, who introduced me to really being a leader in terms of faith. And now we have some incredible things. We say the rosary every day. We have morning prayer. We have a fellowship group every Wednesday night. And our big event is obviously that Sunday night Mass. And just to highlight that a little bit, we have our 8 p.m. Mass. Every time after we gather with our sections, we go to the grotto. It's a 5-minute walk. And that was the time when, like that decision I had to make that second weekend after welcome weekend, we're gathered with everybody in our section, arms around each other. I had a view of the grotto and the dome you can see shining through the trees. And in that moment, I knew I made the right decision. I had no regrets. So that's always been really special for me. And next year, I'm really excited to be an RA and really to lead that. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a terrific honor. And it's a leadership experience you're going to learn a lot from, which is really great. I'll tell you that when people get old like me, they tend to be called to prayer more as you get, come to the end of life stages. But there's something incredibly powerful when you go to the grotto or other places on campus and you see young people praying. The way that you've, committed yourself to your faith and try to integrate that in your actions is indeed inspiring. You said you were the first in your family to begin Notre Dame, but clearly you inspired somebody else. Is there more to share there?
Yeah, my younger sister Morgan, I followed my older sister. She followed me. Same sort of experience, just really devoted to her faith and just led her to Notre Dame. She's studying marketing, freshman right now in McGlynn Hall, and she loves it. I think she's running for president right now, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, she absolutely loves it.
So it's tell us, how did you choose to study abroad, and what programs did you look at, and how did you decide on London?
It was really hard in the beginning, just thinking about study abroad, because I mentioned some of the things I was doing on campus. One of them is I lead the sports analytics club. So again, I'm combining my major, but at the same time, I was working 30-hour weeks or more for the football team. So I was a student manager working for the running backs, throughout my sophomore and up until my junior year when I decided to study abroad. But
so was it really hard for you to leave? So you missed well, you would have been there for the first playoff game, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
And then you missed the next 3 in January because you were over here doing that. Was that tough to separate from the team at that point?
Yeah, it was really hard. I actually didn't go to the Indiana game.
Okay.
That was more just being home with my family before I came abroad. But to see all my friends have a front row seat, like what I was doing as a junior was obviously we travel with the team and we're really doing ball boys on the sidelines. So we're literally inches away from the field. One time I got tackled. Hopefully we don't show that clip, but just that front row seat, you have an incredible experience. But, I decided to apply to London just because it's my first time in Europe. And I just saw it as a great opportunity to immerse myself in the culture. My grandma's from here. And at the same time, I'm a big football fan. That was, we have to say here. But so there was a lot of things on my mind when I was deciding between it. But I really had 2 special encounters with the Lord in my life. And I mentioned the first one when I was deciding between going to Notre Dame in the first place. And the second one was connected to Keenan once again, is my rector, Corey Hodson. He really started that Wednesday night group. We call it Nights of Faith. It's like Keenan Nights, a little play on words there. And how it works is everybody's invited. We gather at around 7, 8 p.m. and we start with a meditation. We have a brief prayer and then somebody provides a testimony. And so Corey went up there. He talked about relationships the whole time. And as you can imagine, trying to fit in so much, you really lose track of those relationships, not only on campus, but also back home. And at the time, I was kind of struggling with that, balancing school as well. And so that whole talk on relationships, we went to a common room with a small group afterwards. It was the same room I lived in as a sophomore. And I think a lot of Notre Dame people can relate that you typically know who lived in the room the year before. They knew all my roommates, but they didn't know me. And as obvious as it should have seemed, I kind of internalized that I'm really missing out on the relationships in my dorm. And based on that, just having the conversation, saying that I was struggling a bit with those relationships, I went out of that.
And that was largely because between your major and all the time, 30 hours a week in the football program, it was taking you away from the home, your dorm, I should say. And that's why you didn't know as many, correct?
Yeah, correct. And it was just 2 to 7 every day for football. And then by the time you're ready to do work, it's night and then game days and so on. But I was really struggling with those relationships. And after I left our Nights of Faith that night, we followed up by our daily mass afterwards. It was one of those, it was the same moment. It's just surreal that I need to really, that was pretty much when I decided that I want to study abroad. I want to immerse myself in the culture here. And so another special encounter. For sure.
So what has the London experience meant for you so far? Now you're only about a month into it or so, but how has it opened you up? What are some of the ways you're engaged here?
Yeah, so similar to Notre Dame, I've been trying to make the most of this opportunity as well. And I think first and foremost, I mentioned my faith. I have the opportunity to work with campus ministry while I'm here. And we have a fellowship night. We obviously have masses here every once in a while in Conway Hall, as well as Fisher. So just different things like that. We're doing a Stations of the Cross now for Lent and really been trying to engage with Newman House, which is, you can pretty much think of it as a Notre Dame dorm. It's 20 minutes away from here, 77 Catholic students, not just Christian students from throughout the world. That are studying here. And we've engaged with them. We've done volunteering, making meals and distributing them on the streets and different things like that. But for me, it was, again, the relationships that I can cultivate in that way. So many people like me, it's their first time being away from your family, being away from campus, being in Europe. And just the ability to connect with your faith, I think is so important. And whether it's leading walkovers to different parishes around here, that's probably been one of the most rewarding experiences I've had. In addition to that, Josh mentioned the placements. So I'm working at Publicis Sport and Entertainment, which is pretty much right up my alley, another sports experience and sports marketing consulting. They work with the Olympics, FIFA, some of the biggest events in Europe. And so I'm working on
that counts as a 3-credit course?
It does.
That's fantastic.
It's perfect. So I have class Monday, Wednesday. I have my internship Tuesday, Thursday. That brings up another good point is I truly think I have the best class schedule here. And part of that is having the internship as well. But I'm taking, again, Josh mentioned some of them, but Britain in the Global Game, which is a class on soccer. We tour stadiums. We're learning about the early history. I'm taking the music in London class and going to different places around here. As somebody that's never played an instrument, that's been amazing. And
You'll actually take in different, musical events. Give us an example of something that's really jumped off the page for you.
I've only been to one so far. Most of them are the second half of the semester, but we went to Westminster Abbey for Evensong, and that was really special. Obviously a different faith tradition, but being there with my classmates and hearing the amazing vocalists and being in that atmosphere for the first time in my life, that was incredible. That was really neat. And we're just learning about, again, the history of the composers here and throughout the world. And in addition to that, I'm taking an art class where during class, we're touring different museums around here and connecting that to London and our overall experience. And then a philosophy class, which has really challenged me. And as you can probably tell, none of them are related to business analytics.
Right.
So it's been great to I do miss it, but to take a little break and to just engage with London. Pretty much 3 out of my 4 classes are solely London based. Yeah. So that's been a great opportunity. And then another one would be working on the Hall Committee. So kind of a leadership council in Conway Hall. And same sort of idea, we kind of merged that with the faith life, but hosting different events for students, leading our signature events and posting a weekly newsletter, different things like that. But again, the goal is just to meet the amazing team here. And I've been really fortunate to meet our incredible faculty, from Kevin, Deanna, and Helen over at Conway, and to Vittorio and Josh here, and so many others that have really made this experience incredible so far. So
that's
trying
fantastic.
to apply myself. But
have you been to an English Premier League game yet or not?
I have.
You have. Who'd you go see?
We went up to Manchester to watch Man City versus Chelsea during the second week.
And who's your team?
I'm a Liverpool fan.
You're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've gone to, I think, almost 10 games now. I'm going to one tonight, actually.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
wow.
But we've gone to Manchester twice. I think my best experience or favorite experience was I worked my half day on Tuesdays. Yeah. And right after work, I headed straight to the train station. My buddy met me there. We went up to Manchester. We watched Manchester City versus Real Madrid that night in Champions League, which is like the biggest club tournament in the world.
Right.
And like 40-pound tickets that in the US you would pay hundreds of dollars for.
Right.
And we watched the game. We had a 3 a.m. bus because I had a 9:15, which was the football class the next morning. And so I went straight from the bus, got my sleep on there, took the tube right to Fisher and went to class. So that was just a key study abroad experience.
Stayed awake for class?
Yeah.
Okay,
good. I managed. The bus was pretty nice.
Okay, good. That's fantastic. So would you recommend to like your sister, other students in their first and second year, would you encourage them to study abroad? What has it done for you?
Again, Josh highlighted some of them, but just being independent. At Notre Dame, we are independent to a certain degree, have to do our own laundry and stuff like that. But here, you have to cook for yourself. And I think it's just a great wake-up call that when you get into the real world after you graduate that's something that you have to probably do each and every day.
So you're not doing a bunch of Uber Eats or any of that? You are really cooking?
Most of the time. We actually, a couple of my close friends right down the hall, we have a cooking schedule. So it's about 8 of us and we take turns, we take different shifts cooking every week.
What's your go-to dish?
Probably chicken Parmesan.
Chicken Parmesan? And the others like it?
Yeah, they do. Everybody kind of has their own main dish. One of my friends makes shepherd's pie and then we have Taco Tuesday, different things like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's just being here, sometimes we don't always have mass in Conway. So you have to find a mass to go to, which we take for granted, having the chapels in each of our dorms, and different things like that, really fighting for yourself and different things and being in different countries where they don't really speak English that well. I was just in Madrid this morning, actually.
Wow.
And so many things we take for granted in the US and just being here and applying yourself. Example, like my internship, immersing myself in the culture, getting to know people in this foreign environment and just stepping outside of my comfort zone. I remember in the beginning, just walking the streets and I landed at Heathrow, took the tube into Waterloo Station, right where Conway is, and seeing them drive on the wrong side of the road for us and the double-decker buses and everything. And in that moment, I was honestly pretty homesick. I already missed home, long flight and everything. But it really helps you out, I think, in life in general, because you're not always going to be able to live in Notre Dame. I'm not always going to be able to study abroad here and for 4 months and live in a different country. So trying to make the most, I mentioned, out of every day. And in general, I think it's been an incredible opportunity and I'd recommend it for everybody. One final question then. Yeah. How do you think, it's still early in your experience, but how do you think you will go back to Notre Dame as a different person from your London experience? How do you think it'll make you a better RA in the dorm? That's definitely something I've been thinking about a lot. I also have the privilege of being a peer leader for Moreau with Father Mark Poorman. So similar type of thing. And I think the motivation for that and being an RA, I had my interviews while I was here early on in the semester, was just to take away the leadership opportunities that I've had here and to bring those back on campus, working with people that I don't know, because typically it's with your dorm. Now we have everybody in the same building, amazing facilities as we talked about. So I just think going back with a different sense of leadership, what it means to be a leader, and at the same time having this new set of eyes for the world around me. Yeah. I mentioned we take so many things for granted, but now again, living in this environment each and every day is a new challenge and really have to push through. And it is hard at times balancing everything, but at the same time, I've just feel like a more global citizen now. And having engaged with people on the streets, as I mentioned, through Newman House or at work or just while studying and the people you bump into. It's just been incredible.
Well, you're a terrific young man.
Thank you.
And I'm so proud and grateful that you're at the University of Notre Dame, but you're going to bring a lot of hope to this world. You're going to make a difference. You already are. And this experience is just going to help you to be even a better servant leader going forward. We always close these sessions with a prayer to Our Lady. Yeah. And especially given your background, would you lead us in a Hail Mary?
Of course.
Please join along.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Connor, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us from London. Take care. God bless, and go Irish.